All right. Thank you all for making it. We moved things around last week due to the weather and think it was the right call. So welcome to warmer weather in the basement. I've been thrown out of better, I assure you. So we have public comment, Corey, sorry, from Child Care Groups.
Morning, workforce board members. I'm Tori Manis. I'm president and CEO of Child Care Group. We are your child care services contractor. And I wanted to take just a moment to report on our activities, impact and successes over the past year. We haven't had the chance to do that thus far, but I'll go real quickly through a few program statistics just to share with you. Over the past year, as you can see, well, first I'll back up. Child Care Group manages the child care services contract in 3 workforce board areas. Dallas County, of course, is our largest. We also manage the contracts in the heart of Texas area, which are the 5 counties surrounding Waco and Temple area, and also in Southeast Texas, which is Jefferson, Hardin, and Orange counties, near Beaumont and Port Arthur. But you'll see here in Dallas County, in program year 2023-24, we served 23,839 children who received child care financial scholarships. And those are the funds that you receive from TWC and then contract with us to manage. There were over 13,000 parents who used this program to obtain financial assistance for their children so that they could go to work or go to their job or a job training program. We worked with and provided mentoring through the quality contract with 722 child care providers who were registered to receive subsidy, and they received a whole range of different kinds of support I'll talk about in a second. And in total, this was $129 million for child care scholarships. An additional $11.5 million was used for child care improvement or quality improvement activities and program operations. And there were a total of 901 child care providers that held a contract with us. And so what we know about this program and what I want to make sure to reinforce with you, particularly during these times of change, is that child care is a critical infrastructure support that not only supports today's working parents, that enables them to go to work, go to school, attend a job training program, but it also helps to prepare and set a foundation for our youngest learners so they have the opportunity to receive a high quality early childhood education. Statewide, and then I'll go ahead, economic mobility, the impact that we made. This is data from the TWC Child Care by the Numbers database, and you can see what happens when parents have access to stable child care that they can afford and they can go to their job every day. And you can see over a period of time, their quarterly wages increase. And we've seen in Dallas County, the greater Dallas Fort area, a 44% wage increase for parents who had access to this program. We're really proud of that to feel it proves the economic necessity of the program. Next, I want to also quickly report, last year we worked with Workforce Solutions Child Care Group and Early Matters Dallas, partnered to do a small sample of 8 zip codes that were named to be child care deserts. See the zip codes here. This was really in response to some data around the TWC and Children at Risk put out about child care deserts. What we wanted to understand though is, what do providers say? What do parents say about what they want and need? And what we found was what we hypothesized, which is parents don't think in terms of zip code when they need child care. They need convenience, they need affordability, they need the hours that work for them and their children. They really need transportation to and from their home or to get their child to the elementary school. Interestingly, providers also indicated that they themselves do not believe that they operate in a child care desert because they look around and say, but I'm under capacity and my competitor center down the road they've got capacity too. So we've got a bigger issue, and what we are looking at more, and we're looking with our partners around the community, Early Matters and others, is how can we create neighborhood hubs where we create more childcare options for more families and get these programs where parents need it. So we use this data and we helped build capacity. So last year in Dallas County, through recruitment and incentive programs, we added 17,593 new seats for childcare for parents and help them get access to the programs that they needed. We target this by looking at a heat map that I've shared with you all in the past about where children are that are in our subsidy program, the zip codes where they live, where families are on the wait list. And then we go and recruit in those areas to try to lift up additional childcare providers, incentivize them, use the quality dollars that you provide to us to help open up in toddler classrooms and other things. And now, through this program, 60% of all the licensed childcare programs in Dallas County are on our subsidy program. Next, we are very pleased to report a couple of data points here, increasing quality. So between 2023 and 2024, we've had a very significant increase in the number of centers that are listed in Texas Rising Star. We've reported to you in the past that there has been a huge backlog at the state level because of the childcare lack of assessors. This has started to step up, and we've got more certified quality rated centers, which then translates into more children in quality. And then finally, one other thing that I wanted to share with you, family navigation. This is something where the subsidy, where you all awarded some funding to help support a family navigator. We've been working with families that are on the child care wait list to help offer them additional services. We used leverage the child care or the TWC money and Workforce Solutions money with private money that we've raised to help partner with the Help Me Grow program. And you can see that we're providing a wide range of community resources and referrals to help support families that need not only child care, but also other social services. So with that, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present this, to manage this program. It is really something that is very important to us and core to Child Care Group's mission. And we know that through this work, it motivates us to dream big, to work collaboratively with other partners, and to really make a difference for children and families in our community. And I want you to know the impact of the work that we're doing in partnership with Workforce Solutions, and we're very grateful for you and for your support, and thanks for a great year.
Lori, thank you for your presentation. Get that presentation to Karen Hughes on our Child Care Subcommittee, and she can also report back to the board on that. So thank you for doing that. I want to let you know that we're at a full board now, and we have a new member, Kim Shaw Day, has joined us. And, Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good
You have a
morning.
PowerPoint?
No. Kim Sade, I am the executive director for Early Learning Alliance, and I am a co-chair for Help Me Grow North Texas. I have lived in Dallas the majority of my life. I grew up in South Dallas, and I graduated from Spruce High School. I have my degree from Stephen F. Austin, and I am excited to be here. Oh, I'm a grandmother of a 9-year-old today.
Glad to have you. I'll keep my comments very brief. It occurred to me, and Tori mentioned it, that the times have changed. It occurred to me a story that might resonate with me. My best friend was my real estate broker. His name's Mike Wyatt with Cushman and Wakefield. And Mike had the best setup ever. He had a private fishing club that he took me to in East Texas. And it was kind of like a golden pond. You go out there and you just really don't even care if you catch a fish. Like, and by the way, you could throw a tin can in the water and catch a fish because they were trained. And every time we went, Mike would tell me the same story. As we got on the dock, he would say, "Now, Carter, One time, I got, my foot in the boat and one foot on the dock, and the boat went out, and I fell in the water, it's cold, and I lost a bunch of lures and stuff. So be careful when you get in the boat. And what he told me was, be sure when you decide to get in the boat, get all in. You can't keep one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat. So I think that's the message for all of us in our careers, as board members, as staff, as vendors. This is the year to be all in. And don't keep one foot on the dock and just try to test the waters and do average. It's time to do exceptional work. And so I really challenge you as board members, and we're seeing that in our committees and such, do exceptional work. That's the way you foolproof your career and foolproof your commitment to the community. So those are my comments this morning. I hope you think about that as I do every time I go fishing, about being all in. So, yes, guys.
Would you be referring to Jerry Jones all in?
I was just gonna say.
Your story.
I don't get to pick this crew. Jerry picks his crew, not very well. We have, I hate to do this, we have a matter that we have to take up in closed session, an HR matter. And so I'm gonna ask all of you guys to leave as we go into closed session. There's a lot of food out there, so go and graze. We won't be long, no more than 10 minutes, and we'll have you back in here. So, thank you. All right, Ashley, I think you have, oh, wait a minute. I'll pull us back into, open session. I would take a recommendation that we accept the HR matter that we discussed in closed session. Can I get a motion on that? All right, Jason, I can get a second? Second, Bessie. No discussion on that. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Abstention, okay. Yeah, let's make our conflicts of interest. So anything with, Texas Workforce, yes. Childcare Group, Dallas College. All these memorized. All right. Thank you. All right, Ashley, you have some comments?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you all for being flexible with us and moving the board meetings, flexible with us and the weather from last week. Can't tell you how much we appreciate you all being here today. And I just want to talk a little bit about something that Chair Holston has said over the past year. He said we're free to move about the cabin. So thank you all for that sentiment. To kick off the new year, several staff and I went out to all 8 of our workforce centers. We did what we call a road show, just to really spend some time with the Equus staff. So as you know, back in October, we appointed Stephen Bridges, our industry and communications manager over there, to really take on getting together with Equus and strategizing how we can make a better impact through the customer experience, be it an employer or a job seeker, and how we can increase our performance outcomes. So he has been meeting with Equus leadership. Carter and I have met with Equus leadership, but this roadshow was really an opportunity for board staff to get out in front of the boots on the ground staff at Equus and talk about the big impact we want to make for 2025. We want to be the best board in the state of Texas, and we wanted to get feedback from them. So Stephen actually created the I Suggest portal. It's a suggestion box, and we want to hear from those staff doing the day-to-day work. We know we have a lot of red tape we have to deal with our federal and state funds, but we know they have great ideas, and we want to hear how we can get together and be creative to find a solution to move forward and make that great impact. So thank you so much for that opportunity. I was joined by Stephen. I was joined by Brenda Saldana. She's our communications coordinator. Maria Lupardo. She works a lot on communication. And then several other staff joined us out there to show some FaceTime. Becky, Kent, Rachel, Lynn, I probably missed some, but thank you all for your support. I think it was really important to get out there with Equus, and the feedback from Equus staff was really phenomenal. They were really excited to come alongside us, and they're excited to provide feedback. Stephen's already received a few suggestions to that I Suggest portal. And speaking of our communication, I want to mention that you have a flyer in your handouts today for our newsletter, which launched in November. So this is a monthly newsletter that Brenda is putting out. If you scan this QR code, you can do that right now while I'm talking if you like. You'll be able to input your cell phone number so we can get this to you on your mobile device. Right now, you're all getting it in your email inbox, but we want to be able to get it to you however you choose. I want to communicate with you the way you see best for yourself. So please go ahead and scan. We don't have everybody's cell phone numbers, and we don't want to bombard you if you don't want it via text. But just know that you'll be getting that monthly in your email inbox, and you also have the option to get it. So we're excited to share with you all the great things we're doing in Workforce.
Thank you, Ashley. We'll talk about, some results, in the, Equus contract, and Rebecca's going to go through some stuff when we get to her committee's report. But before we do that, please welcome Bessie Gray, who's our treasurer. And she's jumped in with both feet. Thank you very much for cleaning up Harry's mess.
Good morning, everybody. I don't have an eloquent story other than to say I've been in both feet in the boat for a while. And so.
Yes. And that you're all in.
Oh, man. And I don't really care about Cowboys, so. That's my story, but, good morning. I just wanted to, as the chair of the treasury, to give you an update on my past, month of what we've been doing. And so I have the honor, I'm the Chick-fil-A person. It is my pleasure to serve in this role to help us understand and make better decisions about this. And so I had the pleasure of being, in the committee, chair report, meeting. And so on page 13, actually, of your handout, it gives you a summary of two things that I want to talk about. The first thing that I want to talk about is our audit that we are for 2024. And so we met with the auditor and they walked us through their schedule of what they plan to do. This is not a new audit company. They've used them before. On page 3 of your handout, it gives the audit schedule. What they reviewed with us. And then Crow was the director that walked us through those types of things. And Alicia, I'll get to you in just a moment, but thank you for stepping up. So you'll answer some questions. So one, I wanted to introduce and to make sure that you're all aware that I think this is a good schedule, and the committee met and we asked questions. They answered our questions, and we I think are ready to proceed, if possible, with the audit schedule for our audit of 2024. So that's one thing I would be proposing that we do. The other thing that we talked about, and then Alicia, you can step to the podium in case they have some in-depth questions, was walking through our financial plan for 2025. I think it is a good point. We had good questions and dialogue about those types of the line items. So we delved into those line items. And so I wanted to pause to see if anyone has any questions about any of the financials that Alicia can answer. Any questions about what's there before we move forward.
Okay, so there's two matters, of course, before we jump into the budget. You have in your handouts the pro schedule from the auditors. And so we're seeking a board resolution that we accept the audit plan or board approval of the audit plan for 2024 by Pro. There's no deviation from what they've done in the past. There's no deviation in the audit firm. We had a clean audit again last year. So this is pretty ordinary. So I don't think there's any discussion, but I would entertain a motion that we accept the audit plan. So, all right. And then can I get a second? Okay. Harry, second. Any discussion on the audit plan? Okay, can we go ahead and vote on that? All in favor? Aye. Aye. One opposed? No abstentions? All right. Now we're gonna move to the budget.
Okay. Moving to the budget, any questions regarding any line items on the budget? I'm going to just tell, and Harry's going to give a little bit more detail. We also, as part of the budget conversation, talked about a contingency plan as it relates to executive orders that have come into play, and we've had sort of a pause and some decisions on the first week of executive orders. And so we don't have a fully baked plan, but what we plan to do with my partner here, what we plan to do is to come up with a contingency plan. What happens if there's an executive order that causes us to respond differently? So that is on the table. We don't have anything to present today. What we're talking about is the 2025 plan as is.
So Ashley, would you mind talking about the cash flow and how we draw funds and just a little bit about what happened that gave us pause?
Absolutely. When we receive our almost $200 million budget that you'll see for 2025, TWC does not just give us a $200 million check and tell us to go enjoy the year. We have to draw funds throughout the year. and we are only allowed to keep 3 days of cash on hand. So every week, we're planning and drawing funds from TWC that we receive the following week and expend for our payroll, our rent, childcare subsidies, pay Equus, all of the payments that we have each week. Now, what happened and that I emailed you about in January was the executive orders and the president's memo that at the time put a pause on any federal funding leaving DC. We received the information from TWC that they were no longer allowed to draw funds and that we would be losing our ability to draw funds from the state the next day. By the end of the day, they told us, actually, that was wrong. We can now draw our funds. You have not lost your ability to draw funds. Lots of things happened in there. There was a temporary restraining order. We thought that we would hear a hearing the following week, but then the memo was rescinded. So that's where we stand today. TWC has told us that they are operating as business as usual and that we are to operate business as usual the same.
So the action item for the board that Bessie's talking about is, well, what if that did happen? Not that it's going to, not that we're reading the tea leaves, not that we know anything. But it's prudent for the board to come up with a plan that says, if that were to happen, here's how we would respond. For instance, the easiest one is our leases. All of our leases have an out clause that say if we lose our funding, we're walking, we're not gonna stay there. So those kinds of things, as we digest that, that's what the action plan will come back to the board. It's just prudent for the board to have something in place, sort of an emergency, this is what we'll do.
And actually, we've actually had some conversations with your peers, or there's a forum where this is a discussion. Can you give us some flavor of what's being discussed?
Yes, absolutely. Out of the 28 boards, I would say that you would see the full gambit. You would see directors that have said, well, I've talked to my board and we don't think there's anything to do with this right now. You see people in the middle, and then you see other boards saying, oh, we really think we should kind of pause some of our payments right now, and we really need to prioritize the payments that we're gonna make. So I've kind of heard it all in the last month. I think it's just the unknown right now, so we're all in the same boat.
So with that, I'd like to, we have no questions about this.
How much of the workforce money that we get is federal versus state?
It's a question. We don't have our breakout in the budget. You know, off the top of your head. You thought it was 100%? No, we do have, I mean, we have general state funds as well. It's definitely more federal. I'm gonna pull some up. I'm like thinking back to our CFA and CISA reports from last year.
Even some of the federal goes through state.
All of the federal
So
goes
that's
through the
the.
state. All of it goes through the state.
I would give it more of a 90-10 split because some of our federal funds split between both federal and state. And the amount, such as tax, the amount that is state versus federal, is very, is even less than our cash. But I can follow up with you that exact number.
At the top is federal, but then, so we're looking at this flow chart. Where was that? It's in your handout. Right behind the budget, I think it was. The top row is all federal money, but that runs through the Texas Workforce Commission, and general state revenue is layered in on top of that.
And it was the state funding of this as well.
Is the state by average? Not from what I've heard, but I mean, anything could happen.
Well, that brings up two topics. One, the reauthorization of the WIOA program in Washington. At the end of last year, as the other administration was leaving, there was a push to get that through the Senate. And it hasn't been reauthorized for how many years?
Yes.
Since 2014. So the federal grant WIOA that pays for our Equus contract essentially, has not been reauthorized by Congress for a long time. So that means it can be looked at. And it means that it can, a lot of discussion will be had on that. Your executive group is going to Washington, the end of March, where we have our annual conference. That'll be a major topic. So we'll come back to you in April with more information on that. The other issue is the child care grant. Texas is unique in that we attach child care money to the Texas Workforce Commission. Other states don't do that. And so, as you know, the state legislature is meeting. And just as what things are in flex in Washington, the same thing's true every legislative session. So the way that those funds are looked at and sent out will be discussed. And possibly the Texas Workforce Commission would be under the sunset clause, the state of Texas unique, that every, I'm sorry? Sorry?
Every 7 years.
Every 7 years, agencies are looked at and decided, well, we can do without that, or we can do it this way or that way. So, that would make our child care money, subject to discussions. So, stay tuned on that. We don't have any news on that. We don't want to raise any red flags. But I do say that those are two big funding issues that we as a board can kind of think of.
I guess to be clear, so we are being asked to approve the budget, is that?
Yes. Yes.
After, okay, so the first one, I'm all in, on both of my feet are in.
All right.
You're gonna have to come up with another slogan.
You have a vote, Carter? What is the other vote? Nobody want to apply for a board. It's just clarifying.
Good. So on the, I'm on, well, first I'm gonna go back to.
The budget, yeah.
So I'm looking at page 2. And then I'll turn to page 8, and I think I'm looking at the same thing, at least when it comes to the bottom 2 charts, the bar charts that show budgets versus actual, what the board costs and what person costs. And maybe I'm confused. But the 5-year trend is that I choose this term like very specifically. It seems that we are pretty disproportional when it comes to what we're budgeting versus what we are actually spending. And this is a consistent trend until we get to what we project for FY25, which is to be right at budgets from actually. What gives us confidence that we're going to be there, and then also what's drawing me on, what's driving me to understand we're not going to.
Excellent question. You mind if I take it?
That's fine.
Each of our grants comes with an administrative threshold, so 5-10% that we can spend on admin, that's to pay for our board office, our payroll for our staff at the board level, our legal fees. And when we build the budget each year, we say, okay, we can spend up to that amount. So on page 2, we're budgeting $7.5 million for admin because that's what we're allowed. Now, last year, we were allowed 6.6 million. That was the budget, but we knew we weren't going to spend all of that. So we keep a contingency line. And if you look at the breakout by line item, we're not actually looking at spending that entire 7.7 million because we've added contingency budgets on page 4.
So that's my second question. So is there a reason we 226% increase this year relative to the 353,000 budgeted last year? Either maybe I'm reading that wrong, but why?
Because we want to put in the line item budget what we really think we'll spend based on prior years. Now that contingency line item can get repurposed for, especially the admin, for anything. It doesn't have to be spent on admin. So we do plan to spend the money when it's contingency, But if we're not gonna end up spending it on admin, which we wanna save in contingency for a time, if we ran into a legal issue, that could only be paid out of admin. So we save it during the year, but toward the end of the year, as we realize we are not going to need it. And when I say end of the year, I mean the end of the year of the grant. And each grant ends at different times during the year. So it's easy for us to start releasing money throughout the year. And that repurposing can ultimately go to the customer. So we could put it in Equus's contract to pay for support services that go to our customer for transportation.
And that was the third point I had. So when I went to this bigger packet to page 13, you've noted in section 2 of the finance committee report that we repurpose the funds to other services by the grant closeout. Again, I choose my words specifically, so it's not my concern. But I think perhaps maybe continued question is, we're being asked to approve a budget, and then I'm being shown that there's 226% increase on possible contingency. That's not earmarked to do anything other than what we feel like we just need to do. And I feel like as a board member, I want to have some more clarity around what are we going to be spending $1 million+ dollars, even if it's just like general buckets that we think we can take over $1 million to then send somewhere. What's the strategy behind how we want to make the decisions around where those dollars actually go? I fully plan to approve the budget, but I also want to have, just from a fiduciary responsibility and a fiscal responsibility standpoint, some sense as to what a plan would be in time to distribute over those dollars.
Certainly, that makes very much sense. And most of the time that contingency gets pushed through for those supportive services. So when we have contract amendments throughout the year, and we say, all right, you all have already approved for us to contract with Equus, but come June, we need to provide them with some additional money, then they can infuse those budget lines.
And that's really the spirit of the question. And I started switching up on some of this was, I'm only speaking myself. When we get a board packet like that month, we're gonna have to contract with Equus, so this one by like X dollars, and it's like, trust it, this is going. Now it all makes sense to me. I'd like to just know in advance, before we go to say, this month, we're asking you to approve $200,000 more to this vendor.
Yeah.
What was going into the thought process around that, when we set the budget? Versus just, we gotta go to class and contingency it. We're gonna do this, I guess.
Yes,
I know it's not haphazard, like.
Yeah. that makes sense.
Do we know this? Any more questions?
Just curious, this is not a big deal, but training employment navigator pilot, is that moving from being a pilot to something that we're implementing?
That is the name of the grant. Are you on page 6?
Six.
This is a listing of each one of our grants, and that's the way TWC named the grant. How many years was it, Alicia? Is this a new grant and they're still calling it a pilot? You know?
Well, the only reason I'm asking is it showed a 406% increase. Budget perspective. It's a small dollar. I just was curious about that.
Have we received a brand new program here on that one?
It's a carryover grant, so it's a grant that lasts longer than 1 year. And every year, I think this grant, we have to go in and resubmit a budget for it every 2 years. When we resubmit that budget for it, then they use the contract and award us. That's what coming in more. And so in 2024, we had about 27,000, but now in 2025, we have about 37,000, where they now.
Well, great questions. You guys must be Eric's, for dinner, because you can read that. So, you know.
It's on screen.
Yeah, my setting.
It was on screen when I was reading. Okay, any more questions? I'd like to offer, Reverend Bush full approval of the 2025 plan. Got no further questions.
Okay, so we take a motion. All right, Miguel, and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the budget? All opposed? And then we have the abstentions for them. All right, budget passes. Thank you for your work on that. All right, we have a consent agenda on page 18 of the big package. Got the minutes in there, we have some policy on the top of page 22, actually, we can walk us through that real quick.
Yes, so we have a lot less policy changes in the last month than we've seen in other board meetings. But these all come from PwC with no local flexibility, so we've popped them in the consent agenda, but you can always click the link when you look at your board packet electronically to dive into the details of any of those. And then part C, we have contract amendments. So to Miguel's point, these are contracts that we're infusing. We've already received your approval on all of these open contracts. So we have ADL to start. We received additional money from TWC, so we're turning around and flowing that money through to our current contract providers. Same thing for Equus number 2. We received additional, what we call REC money. That's reemployment services and eligibility assessment. That's one particular grant we received from TWC. They gave us a bunch of money. They infused our grant with that money, and we're allowed to keep 10% off the top for admin. So we want to go ahead and amend Equus's contract for that difference so they can carry forward with the REC work. The H-1B, One Workforce Grant with Dallas College, this was similar to what Alicia was talking about a moment ago. This was a grant not received from TWC, but it was a multi-year grant. So we're already having Equus perform the work in our centers related to this grant, but we need to use their contract this year based on the money that is continuing in the life of that grant. And then Prologis, we received additional funding on that, also non-federal, non-TWC, non-state funded grants, so we're flowing that through to contracts that we already have. And that brings you to the end of the consent agenda.
All right, so if I could, get a motion that we approve the consent agenda. All right, Bessie, I'm gonna get a second on that. Second, fine, Grant. And any discussion on any of these items? All right,
Just one. Sure. Clarity, if we don't mind, Ashley. When we say no local flexibility, just to confirm, I know we've had this conversation many times. But does that mean no flexibility relative to where the category goes to, or would it just specifically mean to the vendors as well?
It's specific for the vendors as well, and we're required to get board approval. Does that answer your question?
So in other words, when we say $125,000 to Dallas College.
Oh, that part is not the local, no local flexibility. That's just the policy of the top. Yes.
No local, it's to the category.
Yes.
Not to the specific.
Correct.
Got it, thank you.
You're welcome.
all right, so we have a motion, we have a second. So call for a vote, all in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Have the abstentions. All right, motion passes. All right, we'll move to the committee reports, and first up is Harry, the executive committee.
So it was a meeting about a month ago, it was a meeting yesterday, and they kind of run together because it's the same attendees, the same topics. So I will report that last month we had blueberries, cranberries, and banana nut muffins.
Again, anybody want to apply?
Blueberries, banana nut.
We talked about a vote.
Chocolate, yes. So it's the chocolate meeting of the cranberry. Okay, a month ago, we talked about the executive director search. Dupree updated us on that. We're gonna run into some sticky issues down the line anyway, no matter what, because, you know, we are capped on what we can offer said director. And we want everything, we want the best available athlete, youth experience and agencies like ours, and then we're gonna offer them a salary that doesn't necessarily just bringing out everyone's woodwork, so we are strategizing on that. We are talking about also on board director recruitment, so that we don't have the 11th hour dash to the mayor's office where I gotta ask his honor, can we get this person, that person, this person? So we're gonna get ahead of that. And Carter's idea is that we're looking also outside the industries we currently inhabit, new industries, new blood, and get those slates going earlier, and then he and I can sit down with mayor and judge and talk about them. Procurements is an ongoing discussion you'll see in the cranberry and chocolate meetings. Which is, we have upcoming contracts to bid for, we need more bidding, we need more bidders, we need more qualified. Karen's gonna go to work with us a little bit on that. Connie has meetings coming up at National Convention for new bidders. And we wanna do a better job of looking at our peers and our rivals and our friends and see what are you doing, how can we adopt your best practices and not be too proud. And then we discussed the coming impending performance marks a month ago. And we had some issues about were those the real numbers, getting different numbers, and then yesterday, as we ate our muffins, we talked about those numbers. And this could be bad news, you know, kind of at a B. And you, San Antonio and Austin are kind of at a C, so yay, we're beating them. However, Fort Worth got an A. And as Carter pointed out, kind of in the bottom third, when you take net, all these marks. So we discussed low hanging fruit. Stephen was really on the ball about how we can talk about credential rates and how there's things we can do that we can actually have effect on. Maybe we have leverage on, so we can hold back slow pay, attach pay, have clauses that allow us to say, you don't get to get the money until you show us through credentials. We talked about the welcoming experience and how we can drive that, how we could, if we find out for ourselves, what those things look like. When you walk in, what does it feel like? You know, if any of us walked in, we weren't known, what would it feel like, the first few questions? And then back to procurements, and actually put on the table IT, WIA, audit, real estate. And that revolves around how to get better, who to lead that, and whether we can, get a better, wider slate of bidding partners. Substantive, really good, great attendance, and these executive committees are bringing out some really solid themes for us to work on. Any questions? Or contributions from my fellow executive committee attendees?
I had no recollection on the muffin, so thanks for bringing that. All right, thank you, Harry. Next committee, Rebecca, on our Achievement Alliance Committee.
The achievement we met on February 12th. We did go over the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and summary, which we need to bring to your approval. We will get there in just 1 second. In addition to that, we discussed performance updates on Equus continue to implement strategies to improve performance. Those strategies include enhanced trending, improving follow-up with the customers and training providers, taking a preemptive approach to performance tracking by mapping certifications and measurement skills, review of policies and procedures to ensure they reflect the changes, staff retraining, and improving customer needs assessment. We also got into more detail about the road shows that Ashley mentioned, which was a call to action for staff to go out to the different areas that we serve. We discussed the industry sector partnership, and another thing we requested from Equus and discussed as a committee is to require the gathering of some success stories so that we can better tell the story of our services. If you look, we've got this Dallas Morning News article here in front of you. This says, it opens with, the headline is, can this tax break proposal benefit businesses? And it starts with having childcare for her daughter while Chantal Motelles finished college, kept her family off the streets. Now, 11 years later, she helps parents find affordable options because she knows which offerings are limited. So these are the kind of stories that we want to gather. And we discussed having a strategy where we are using, even if the individual, we don't have to say the name, of course, if they are not comfortable with it, but using individual stories to publicize the types of services and work done by all of the funding on here. Everyone was on board, so we'll start to see and share more impact stories that we will use to get earned media and talk about the services. And with that, I will pass it on to Stephen or Connie to go into the details of the 2025 to 2028 DFW Dallas Local Work WIOA statement.
Hi, good morning. This is Connie from Miami, where I'm here with the Results for America. It's a philanthropic opportunity to improve our procurements. So this is a great opportunity for us. Delving into the plan summary, this is the 2025-2028 plan that we're presenting. You should have the plan summary in front of you. And it's the summary document of the full-blown plan that we submit to the state. This is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act plan. We are currently in a public comment period. The public comment period began February 12th through March 12th, and we're open to any public comments anyone has. We've already received one from Dallas College. Gloria Smith submitted one to us recently. And I'll leave it to Richard to kind of delve into our target occupations, which is part of a critical part of the plan. Richard?
Good morning, everyone. And I'll just touch on a few state of the Dallas County economy. Dallas County economy is doing well. Employment has grown by over 300,000 jobs since 2014. That's a 26% increase. Projected job growth is expected to continue and is expected to increase by 50,000 jobs over the next 4 years. Employers are still relocating to the area and offering good jobs and wages. The industry growth for the county is also doing well. There's some over-the-year quarterly gains in construction, manufacturing, and education and health services. One of the charts on the plan summary shows median household income, and it's had some steady increases over the last 6 years, as well as poverty has had some steady decreases for the same time period. Education levels are getting better for people with less than a high school education, as well as an increase in performance for high school graduates and those with associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, or professional degrees. But another item in the plan is what our target occupations will be for this next planning period. And we've identified 4 that we would like to add: computer and information research scientist. And what that is, it's an IT position, and it's the closest occupation in the government occupation codes that's related to AI. Logisticians, which is related to supply chain and warehousing. Industrial machinery mechanics, so someone can fix all the machines that are going into the manufacturing plants. And the last one is bus drivers, whether they're working at DART or transporting our school kids around the county. We had an opportunity to speak with Carolyn Dent. She is a new board member that represents Omni, and she thought it was a good idea if we could add an additional hospitality occupation. And we spoke with adding the front desk clerk for hotels, with the area being a large draw for the hospitality industry. We thought that was a good fit, has good median wages, and it could be a good fit for the local economy. This time, we're not going to recommend removing any occupations. And that's really, I know we're a little short on time, but that's our summary. And if there's any questions, Connie or I will be happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions on the WIRA action plan or summary?
Just have one question, and fairly certain this has been addressed in the past. How does this or how does this not inform the strategic plan?
Good question. So this is separate from our strategic plan. TIP will be back in April to go over the strategic plan, but it could feed into it with the data that we presented. This is really a compliance document that we are required, along with all other 27 boards throughout the state, to provide every 4 years. And then they're going to go and come up with their plans based on this data presented to present to the governor.
I did want to highlight something about the strategic plan. Chancellor, would you tell the board how you have embraced tip strategies?
Yeah, we had a strategic planning session with our board this last month, and so Tom from TIP participated in that as we were laying out our overall strategic plan as well.
So that's really encouraging to see one of our, very strategic partners participating in our strategic plan, and yet we get to participate. So that's what partnerships are all about. So really commend you for doing that, Chancellor. Thank you.
So I guess the second and final question would just be, so as we lay out, what we're doing is we're basically institutionalizing in the eyes of the government the next 30 years of our work. And I don't think we can amend this once we.
Yes, I think we can. Connie, we can amend it throughout the 4 years, correct?
Correct. We can amend this plan anytime.
Okay, that's great, because what would concern me is as we lay out sort of these strategies.
Yes.
There's a
The
problem.
timing is kind of off since we're still working on with TIP, but we can amend it.
And then if you amend it, that process would look like the board takes action on basically adopting a new plan aligned with the strategic plan.
Yes.
Well, I want to commend staff for the document itself. I think this is heads above anything we've seen before. So really commend them on a great document to begin with. Thank you, Rebecca, for your work.
We get the request board authorization to approve the 2025-2028 local workforce development plan. And approve.
All right. We get a motion for that? So moved. All right, Harry. Second, Joanne. And any other discussion on the workforce plan? Thank you, Connie, for answering questions for Miguel. We'll call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you, Rebecca, for your reports. All right, procurement updates will be our next item.
Connie?
Apologies. If you look at the board packet, I provided just an update of all the procurements that are coming up for the year. I also sent just a reminder for conflict of interest, just to be mindful of any conflict of interest related to procurements. So beginning in the spring, we have the management and operation of the workforce system. We have a broker for real estate leasing. And then lastly, in the spring, we have technology, which is a big one coming up. And in the fall, the annual audit services, as well as the broker for health insurance. So that's pretty much what we have for 2025. We're open to other procurements. Another big one that we've been talking about is having an electronic system for our procurements. So that's another idea that we're looking at right now. So Ashley, Chair Holston, that's all I had to report for today.
All right, so that's on page 27. Applaud staff for looking at procurements, getting in front of this board. You all have connections in the community, obviously, and so we think that we get a higher quality when we go out and actually accept bids for various functions. So encourage you to look at those, and as you have resources, put them in the mix and then get out of the way. All right. All right, we're now on page 28, and this is the economic snapshot. And Richard, you're covering that?
Yes, sorry about that. So,
Right. Richard, I just want to say we're way ahead of schedule, so don't thank it.
okay. And I'll make it brief. I know we're a little short. So, on the economic snapshot, I'll start with the participation rate for Texas. It's doing well. In fact, it's the highest it's been since 2013. Unemployment rate is also, holding steady, and it's a little lower than November, but a little higher over the year. WIT job openings for Dallas County, they are over the year less than some of our previous years. That could be an indication of a slowing of the economy. We've seen a few more war notices. I think everyone's seen the one for Southwest, but there's also some other companies that have announced some layoffs for the year. So we're keeping an eye on those and just trying to stay prepared so we can offer services. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the chart that just lays out the Dallas County industries. I marked the top three for the area in terms of jobs, and that's trade, transportation, professional and business services, and education services and healthcare. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Hearing none, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Rebecca.
Thank you, that's quality of video officer to the board. I just want to give you a brief update on the program in fiscal monitoring conducted by our external monitor, Christine Lynn and Associates. We have two ongoing fiscal reviews for Dallas, one for Dallas College and an initial review for the Crowd Grant. We also have a program review for AEL that is going on. We have two reviews that are complete. One is pending a final report. One is pending contract for response, the initial report. Any questions about that? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to point out one thing. I think it's on page 4. This is the board schedule, so if you would, just make sure you put that on your calendar. I looked at the boards, all of your vacation accruals, and you all have vacation for March. So, you don't have to fill in your time card, anything, we'll take care of it, but there's no meeting in March. So, just point that out. Any other business? Yes, Miguel.
Just want to ask one question related to child care quality for the child care TRS. I remember a few months back, we were trying to work through a backlog that I felt like the stage, some of that was because the stage wasn't off,
It's talking about, the mandate to get healthcare providers to TRS4, and there was a backlog in auditors. I think we covered this at a past meeting, but can we get a status update, or did we catch up? I go to Rhonda here for that status update.
Sure, there is still a bit of a backlog, but it is close. So that assessor's not applying, it's better than without.
So I guess the question for me is, do you feel like, is there anything that we should feel concerned about in relation to trying to the
Required. At this point, no, they're doing everything they can in cases where it's there's more demand than there are assessors. PwC is flexible with granting waivers on the timeline for the providers, so that they are. We get a report on that for the April status of.
I think the past time we got an update, that there was also an impressive number, is there was fear originally that kids were gonna lose their provider didn't up their quality. And I think after all of the review, it was in the single digits.
That were different.
A single digit of children who were in a childcare center that chose to not upgrade their quality.
All right, well, Kim, congratulations, you made it through your first board.
Carter, can I ask one quick question? The strategic planning, what's the next? Are we meeting with them again? Are they kind of working in the background and all the things we've been giving them? Okay.
So they're definitely in the community and they're meeting with our vendors and trusted resources, and they're hearing from our customers.
Mhm.
So they'll come back to us in April and present.
Okay.
Yep, all right. Well, hearing no other business, I will call us to adjournment. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.